Hello! So today we're going to be working on a full body stretching routine. This stretching routine is really meant to be very helpful for your lower back, but it's going to be full body. So if you don't have a lower back problem, that's fine. You can still do the stretching routine and it should benefit you. Just know that if you do have a lower back problem, it should be especially helpful. And that's what we're going to do today. So let's get started with a little assessment of your flexibility. So what I'm going to have you do is stand nice and tall. Feet are hip width apart. Knees are over ankles, ankles over hips, hips over knees, shoulders over hips. All right, we're going to take a big deep breath in. Hands come down to the heart with an exhale. And on the next one, we're going to lift, inhale, and we're going to exhale and swan dive down towards the floor. Bend those knees and just let your upper body hang. Now, depending on your flexibility, your hands might end up, and I'm going to turn to the side so you can really see, your hands might end up on the floor. And as you can see, I have a nice generous bend in the knee. Hands might be on the floor. They might be on your shins. And they might be on the top of your feet. And that is all completely relative based on your flexibility. And I don't want you feeling like you need to be in a certain place. It is what it is, and that's this particular stretch is to assess your flexibility. I want you to really remember how this feels, because we're going to do it again later, and it should help you to see how flexible you've become in just one stretching session. Okay, so knees bent, let the head and the upper body hang. Let your rib cage rest on your thighs. And now with an inhale, we're going to come up halfway, flat back extends on the horizon, legs straighten, and hands end up either on the shins, or depending on your flexibility, maybe they end up on your thighs. Really support that lower back by tightening the abdominals. And just again, settle into this stretch and try to feel what it really feels like, what that flexibility feels like, how awful it feels, or how good it feels. Nice deep breaths, and as you breathe, you want to take a big inhale and an exhale. And if you are able to get a little bit more stretch out of it with that exhale, go for it. Knees stay straight. And then next inhale, we're going to come all the way up. Hands to heart. This next move is called a camera adjustment. Since I'll be on the floor for the rest of the routine, or most of it, I just want you to be able to see me. And now I'm fixing my cue cards and drinking my water. All right. So we're going to start out in what's called child's pose. So you're going to be on your knees, your hands and knees, nice and square as if you're at a table. And then you're just going to push your hips back into your heels. Let your arms stay stretched out overhead. And then drop your head down between your arms. And from here, take nice deep breaths again. You might need to adjust the width of your legs. So bringing them wider can maybe make it more comfortable. Maybe it feels better to do it more narrow. Especially if you are pregnant, this is what a big modification you can do is bring those knees nice and wide, let that belly fit in there, and then just sink into the floor as best you can. All right, 2 more deep breaths. On your next inhale, I want you to come back up onto hands and knees. This time, we're going to thread the right arm underneath the left arm as we sink back down into child's pose again with a bit of a twist. So you might be resting on your shoulder this time. And if that doesn't feel comfortable, you can modify it by putting the elbow on the ground like this. All right, coming back up into what we call tabletop position. We're going to thread the arm through the opposite direction. Rotate through that spine. Nice deep breaths. Again, if you want to try to get a little more out of the stretch, always use your exhale to do so. And on your next inhale, come all the way back up into tabletop. And this time we're going to sit all the way back into a seated position. All right, so from our seated position, we're going to do some neck stretching starting here. And so I want you to sit up nice and tall, hips are firmly grounded into the floor. Make sure you're sitting evenly from side to side. You're not lifting up into one hip or the other, but you're sitting nice and evenly side to side. Your legs are crossed. If that feels comfortable, hands are going to be on top of the knees. And now we're going to do neck stretching, like I said. So we're going to take our chin right on the horizon. Make sure it is level with the horizon. And then we're just going to take a nice deep breath in. Exhale, tip the ear towards the shoulder. So what we want to feel is an opening on this side of the neck. Now, if that feels like enough of a stretch, that's great. If you want a little bit more, go ahead and put that hand behind the back. Coming back to the center. We're going to go the opposite direction with an exhale. Again, we're opening up the side of the neck and shoulder. If you need a little more stretch, hand goes behind the back. I'll show you this from a side position. And you don't want to be leaning your body with this one. It's easy to want to do this with your whole trunk. Try to keep your trunk, your hips really stable and centered, and just tip the head. And if that means just tipping it that much, so be it. Anytime you're stretching, you want to hold the stretches for 30 seconds to a minute. And so I'm trying to allow enough time for you to be able to do that, and just taking nice deep breaths. That is one of the most important factors in stretching, is deep breathing, allowing your body to really relax into the stretch, especially on the exhale. All right, coming back to the center, releasing that arm if you had it behind your back. And now we're going to do a neck flexion stretch. So take a nice deep breath in. Exhale, we're going to tip that head forward, chin to chest, opening up the back of the neck now. You might even feel this into your upper back. Nice, slow, deep, even breaths. Right, on your next inhale, come back to the center. And now just very gently, we're going to lift the chin up to the ceiling. But very, very slowly. Try to look as far overhead as you can, just by lifting the chin. Again, we don't want to be tipping back. No tipping back through that upper body like this. But instead, lifting through the chin. You should feel the stretch in the front of the neck. And coming back to the center. All right. Very, very good. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is a chest opener. And with this one, we're going to take our hands, we're going to bring them behind our backs and clasp them together. Now, I'm going to show you what that looks like from the side. We want to sit up very, very tall and straight, and then take the hands behind us. If you can get the palms together, great. If you can't, also fine. You can also take some kind of like fabric, like a towel would work really well, and you can hold onto either side of it to modify this. If you're not able to get the hands together, you can have a towel, one in each hand, and that will help you to get the stretch as well. But in this position, you want to let those hands drop back. Let the shoulders drop down and back. We're feeling the stretch right here in the front of the chest, in the front of the shoulder. Chin should be level with the horizon. And release those arms. Very nice. Just going to bring my water with me. All right. Next up, we're going to do a little trunk lateral flexion. So for this one, I actually want to be facing you. One hand lands on the floor as an extra support. The other hand comes up, palm facing upward. Take a nice deep inhale. Lift that arm. Exhale as you tip to the side. So what we're feeling right now is a stretch in the side body. So right here, kind of more in the back and side rather than the front of you. And you want to feel this from the top of your hip to the bottom of your rib cage. And sometimes you may even feel this all the way up into the armpit and up into the arm. Again, depending on your flexibility. Since I'm blending in with the fireplace, I'm going to scoot a little over. There we go. Now you can see me. Believe it or not, I did plan this out. And then I wore all black and blended in with the fireplace. All right, inhale, coming back to the center. We're going to go the other direction. So hand plants to your side, take a deep breath in, palm facing up, and tip the other direction. Again, feeling that stretch from the bottom of the rib cage to the top of the hip bone. You want to really elongate your trunk, reach with your hand, and then use this hand on your side to help support you. To get a little more out of the stretch, you can turn your body so that your chest is turning towards the ceiling. And that should help you to feel it more. Making sure that your hips stay really firmly planted so you're not lifting up out off the floor with that hip, or you're keeping it grounded into the floor will help you get even more stretch out of it. Always trying to deepen the stretch with an exhale if needed. On your next inhale, let's come back up to the center. Next, we're going to do a rotational trunk stretch. So, big breath in, and we're going to exhale and rotate the trunk. Back hand ends up behind you as a second spine to help support you. Front hand ends up on that top knee, that front knee, as you push and twist through your trunk. And then you want to try to keep the neck with the chin in line with the horizon, and if you would like, you can also turn the neck into that stretch as well. Try to remain very upright with this one. And as always, deep breaths. Exhale and release. We're going to go the opposite direction with an inhale and an exhale as we get into position. Always deepening the stretch with the exhale. Looking over that shoulder if you'd like a little neck stretch as well. And once again, releasing to the center. All right, now it's time to move on to our backs. If you need a little drink of water, go for it. Happens to be a hot day. That's why I'm drinking constantly. All right, so next we're going to go onto our backs. And the first stretch we're going to do in this position is a knees to chest. So pulling both knees into the chest, you can grab your thighs behind the knees, pull them in, give it a little rock side to side. Just going to show you what that's going to look like in different positions. So as you can see, I'm rocking pretty vigorously from side to side, and for some of you that might not feel good, and for others it might feel great. Always do what your body is telling you with a lot of these positions. If something that I'm doing feels like too much on you, or feels like not enough, listen to what your body is telling you. All right, and now we're going to take a deeper hug in. This time we're going to grab the legs over the top and really push the knees into the chest and get a nice deep stretch. We should be feeling this one in the lower back. We're going to release the feet to the floor, and this time we're going to do one leg at a time. So leaving one foot on the floor, we're going to take our hands behind the other thigh, pull that knee in. Sometimes a nice straight stretch right into, like, say, the shoulder on that side feels good. Maybe it would feel better for you to take the knee towards the opposite shoulder. And everybody's flexibility is going to be a little different with the hips. So just find the one that feels the most painful to you, and that's the one you want to stay on. And for me, it's that little bit of a cross-body stretch. So knee goes towards the opposite armpit. And from here, we're going to release that leg back up, still holding on to it. And now, instead of pulling the knee in, we're going to let that leg come straight, still supporting it behind the thigh. Now, the goal with this stretch, again, I'm going to show you from the side. The goal with this stretch is to get a hamstring stretch. So that might look like right here for some of you. That might look like right here for some of you. That's as far as I can go right now. So others of you might be even more flexible, and you might see that leg coming closer and closer to your body. Whatever is comfortable for you. With this stretch as well, you can use like a strap or a towel, something over the foot to help you get the stretch. But the idea with it is to keep the leg straight and really feel that stretch in the back of that thigh. Pulling the knees, or the toes toward the knee, and pressing that heel up towards the ceiling. All right, on the next exhale, release that leg all the way back down to the floor. We're going to do the other side, starting with the knee to chest. So straight knee to chest, pulling right behind on that thigh. Not so much behind the knee, but more on the meaty part of the thigh. Now find your sweet spot. So like I said, some of you might find it more comfortable to stretch with that knee kind of pulling more towards the opposite arm. Get a little angle on it. Just all depends on how your body is built and how your movement patterns work. But I'm finding that I like that stretch a little bit of a diagonal, so that knee comes in towards the shoulder. Deepen with each exhale. And on the next inhale, let's release that leg back up and go for the straight leg and the hamstring stretch. You might find that your legs have different flexibility, so maybe the other side is more flexible, maybe this side is more flexible, and that's totally normal to have different varying flexibility from side to side. Again, you want to pull the toes down towards the knee, flatten that foot as if you're standing on the ceiling. And if you find once you get your knee straight, your foot flat, that all you can do is this, then that's great. If you can get it a little higher, great. By the end of this routine, you should have a little bit more flexibility. But the hamstrings are a huge culprit of lower back pain, so we do quite a bit of emphasis on them in this routine. All right, and release that leg back down. We're going to switch back to the other leg. So take your first leg, you're going to cross it over your opposite knee. So this is called a figure 4, and you might be able to see it kind of looks like the letter 4. I'm sorry, the number 4. You're going to take your hands, thread them through, and grab them behind that opposite thigh. Now this is the leg we're going to feel the stretch in. Okay, down underneath the glute muscle. And so you might feel it more comfortably with your leg crossed, not on top of the knee and not directly on the bony part, but kind of a little bit more on the thigh is where that ankle should be. All right, releasing the foot back down. Let's switch sides. Same thing. This is what it'll look like from the side. You can play with the angle of this leg. So you might find it a better stretch to have this leg flat and then pull it in. You might find it a better stretch for you to have the knee kind of closer to the body and then pull it in. You might find both of those to be really strong stretches. And so try to kind of play around with each of them and spend half time on one, half time on the other. You can always pause this if you want to spend a full 30 seconds on the different parts, different angles of the stretch. You may do so. And releasing back to the floor. The next one we're going to do is in a kneeling position. So come on up, grab some water. We're going to be in a kneeling position with one leg up and one leg down. So this is going to be a hip flexor stretch. And actually, I'll show you the other way so you can really see. It's the side of the kneeling leg that's going to be stretching. So get in this position with one leg up, one leg kneeling. And the first thing I want you to do is tuck the pelvis. And so tucking the pelvis is a little tip of the hips so that if you were laying on the floor, you would feel like you're flattening your back on the floor. So watch, this is me not just normal. And then this is me with the pelvic tuck. So you see that glute tightens and the back kind of flattens. Immediately, you should feel the front of the hip stretching and maybe the front of the thigh stretching. For some people, that's all the stretch they need. Just that little pelvic tuck, and they're good. Now for me, I want to go just a little deeper into it. So to get a little more stretch out of it, you lean that hip forward while you lean the upper body back. You can put your hands on his other thigh. You want to feel the front of that hip opening right there. And as with all the other stretches, you always want to deepen the stretch as you exhale. So focus on taking nice deep breaths in. And as you exhale, go deeper into that stretch. Now If this is uncomfortable in the knee, you can always put a pillow underneath the knee or some padding of some kind. So we come back to the center, switch sides, same thing. Find that pelvic tuck, push the hip forward, upper body back. And turn so you can see it. Alright, coming back to the center. The next stretch is going to be on your stomach. So we're going to lower all the way down to the floor. This is the last stretch of the routine, and then we're going to check back in with that forward fold. So we're going to lower yourself all the way down to the floor. Have those hands in front of you. Right about, you want your shoulder, your elbow right in line with your shoulder. You don't want it really too far behind you or up in front of you, but kind of just right in line. And then the hands out in front of you like this. And then we're going to go all the way down to the floor. And then we're going to push up. So this is a hyperextension of the spine or extension of the spine. And it might not feel super comfortable to start with. So we're going to start slow. Inhale, exhale as you lift. And if that's as far as you can go today, that is totally fine. Stay right here, get that stretch, and do what's comfortable. But for those of you who are able, bring the hands closer back towards your body and push all the way up into this hyperextension position. Let's lower all the way down. We're going to come up to our final forward fold. And so I want you to just get in that same nice solid stance position. Inhale, exhale, and swan dive. Bend those knees, fold the body. And just see what that feels like on those hands, on that lower back, especially in the hamstrings. You can probably get those hands closer to the floor, maybe more of your hands on the floor. And then on your next inhale, flatten back, extends, legs go straight. And now maybe you're able to get those hands all the way down towards the feet with a straight leg and a flat back. Just spend a couple of breaths here.